Yes, my people, I don't come again, my country people. Bishop Kukah don't come outside for Arise TV live, my country people. He don't come talk and say, as far as he is concerned, say if Supreme Court never judge that matter, make dem say yes, na Tinubu na win the case, say he not get president. He said there is no president in Nigeria. Oh God. He said because the way when he take win that election, make Supreme Court don't first judge am first before he go gree say yes, now we have president. Then the cousin tell am say why you go look Buhari eyeball to eyeball, come tell am say this our country Nigeria is not working oh. That the man, if una see the way when the man take defend himself, Bishop Kukah, by country people, this video is a must watch. If una see the way this man take defend himself, my country people, una know say before Buhari drop that he post that Buhari, this man come outside come tell Buhari to his face to face, say Nigeria is not working. He tell her oh her. Now they answer to they ask her now say, wetin make you go issue that kind of statement say Nigeria is not working? My country people, just regardez, just look how this man take defend himself. Regardez là-bas, my country people. I beg, this is Queen Gist. Anytime you come across my video, please don't forget to press the follow button. Don't forget to like my video. Don't forget to share this video, my country people. Share and make people see as Bishop Kukah take display. He explode.
For example, and I give you a very simple example. Again, people have been ticking off the names that have been called. We don't know how long it's going to be, but you get a sense of deja vu. We've been here before. This is what Buhari did to us. So and I think that the vice president also took a symbolic gesture, which I think the president must borrow from. That for no matter how long this lasts, because we are literally on a tentative, it's not a good place to be. Because until the Supreme Court has had a final decision, everything you're holding is waiting for the final decision of the VAR. So, but for now, we can gain speed. One, by appreciating the degree of injury that Nigerians have suffered. And this is not something that anybody can take lightly. Nigerians are very angry. There's a lot of people who are really, really genuinely, and they've earned the right to be angry. The processes didn't go well. We ought not to be where we are. I served as a member of the Electoral Reform Committee. And had the government then taken seriously the recommendations we made, we wouldn't have been where we are. But like Nigerian politicians like the dark spots, where you can operate undercover. They want the opportunities to do the wrong things. So they refused to amend this, take the recommendations that we made, which was eloquently that let us conclude all of these processes before you swear anybody in. Because we know, every Nigerian knows that once you are sworn in, the resources of state are available to you. But notwithstanding that, we shouldn't be ahead of ourselves. I just think that President Bola Tinubu has seen it all. He probably, and I believe he understands, that he must move away from the mistakes that his predecessor made. Namely, to treat this country as if it was a country between the defeated and the conquered. So that's why I'm expecting that in the next few days, we should be able to hear appointments that send a signal that we want that people can be calm, and that everybody is going to have a seat at the table.
It's very interesting that the way that the administration has started its run of power has made the news internationally. I'll come to that in a minute, but all the drama and crisis surrounding the fuel subsidy removal and all the controversy that's been looming over it for decades, and now the knock-on effect that we're seeing after what appeared to be an off-the-cuff remark by the new president. What does that say to you about Nigeria and its politics?
I don't know whether it may have been off the cuff. You don't know. Maybe that was maybe a bullet he had hidden. I don't know. But whatever it is, he's the president and he's going to live with the consequences of the decision he has made. When the Catholic Church says that the Pope is infallible, it's not because the Pope can say who is going to win the Premier League, or it's not because that the Pope has an opinion. No, it is that whatever the Holy Father says at the end would have taken years and years, and it's an aggregation of what the Catholic Church feels strongly about. So, and to some extent, a president cannot make a mistake. Let me put it that way. What I mean is, and this was one of the sad things about Buhari's administration, I'm sorry to say that it's not possible that you have people for 8 years sitting on the same seat, doing the same things. Nobody shifted on his seat. Nothing happened. Even though things were not working, nobody changed a jersey. It says a lot. The point is that whatever decisions he may have taken, whether he decided to include it in the speech or it wasn't in the speech, or that somebody didn't want it in the speech and he wanted it in the speech, he has to live with the consequences. And that's why I think at another level, maybe history may judge him wisely that he decided to bite the bullet now. And because I've listened to a few people, my name is Matthew, not Rotus. Those are the guys who have the expertise. So this is an area I don't know anything about. All I'm interested in is the sufferings of ordinary people who are already in pain. And how the president is going to walk through by taking the mistakes that were made with the last administration. This assumption that you can alleviate poverty by just going around and distributing pennies to people, it's not going to work. And many critics are saying, shouldn't we have created a frame for how this is going to operate? But I would like to think that perhaps Bola Ashiwaju Tinubu has been on the block long enough to know where the corpses are hidden. In that way, whether this is an element of surprise, we just have to wait and see what happens next. But my concern is a serious appreciation of the amount of suffering that Nigerians have gone through.
But finish.
And I think we must do everything possible because the social consequences could be tremendous. And finally, you are a journalist. If you're following a story and you have to keep correcting and trying to say what it was you meant to say, there's a problem. The government has to then develop a strategic means of communicating with ordinary Nigerians about why we are where we are, where we hope to get to, and why we are doing the things we are doing. And I think an effective communication strategy is fundamental to how we progress, despite the difficulties that seem to loom in the horizon.
Absolutely, I agree with you. But I mean, given the fact that we don't know what's going to happen over the next few days or weeks or months, as you said, I mean, based on what we know, which is that there's been the removal of the subsidy, even NNPC has raised its prices. Should he have done things for the people, these poor people that are of such concern to you first, before removing the subsidy? Because clearly now they're going to be ravaged by inflation first and suffering first before whatever measures to ease the impact come on stream.
Well, you know what they say, you don't have to make the perfect the enemy of the good. We don't know yet what is going to happen and what the president is going to roll out in the next few days. We don't know. But I'm saying, and this is perhaps where my problem is, that perhaps a greater clarity was expected. And this is not something that you are expecting your aides to try and begin to patch up what you meant to say and so on and so forth. So I think what happens in the next few days will tell us. First of all, the meeting with the NNPC people, the meeting with the central bank governor, the meeting with all the people that matter. But critical to all of this is the fact that we've been running a very fraudulent state. And I've argued severally that governance in Nigeria still is a criminal enterprise. I mean, there's very little in the structure of governance in Nigeria that suggests that those who have designed policies have a clarity of where they want the country to go to. You have a National Assembly now, the stories, the gory stories you hear. You have people who have found themselves in National Assembly, they don't have the faintest idea. People who can't sign their signature. Humongous sums of money going in different directions. We've been told that this whole thing has been a scam. If it's a scam, it's not a scam by spirits. I'd like to see the names of all those who have been benefiting from this whole thing in the first place. And unless and until, as they say when you're fighting corruption, if you don't make examples, then you're going to be in trouble. Because the terrible thing that can happen to any government is when criminals recycle themselves, refurbish, change their jerseys, and enter into politics, either directly, or they become sponsors of political actors who act on their behalf, not on behalf of the citizens and the state. And this has been our story in Nigeria for a very, very long time. So, and that is why, Nigerians have been extraordinarily patient. People like myself, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of telling people to wait, things are going to get better. But we must be grateful to ordinary Nigerians that we've remained resilient in spite of all this, not because of the things government has done. But I think that government must put something very urgently on the table that goes beyond the grandstanding of activists in different segments of society, whether it's labor, because the issues are much more complicated than that. At the end of the day, ordinary people need to be told, how are we going to move forward. Where is your seat at the table? Because like they say, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you are the menu. And I think ordinary Nigerians have paid enough price in terms of sacrifice. So I think that the legitimacy of this government, like any other government, will depend on the kind of signals that it sends out there.
No, absolutely. And I have to make an observation. I mean, you're just so forthright in the way you talk, and very direct and completely not fearful or particularly bothered about who you're sort of criticizing. And I wonder what it's like when you meet, because I mean you were a fierce critic of President Buhari. And when you meet him in public places, for example, you were at that inaugural lecture, you were delivering the lecture and so on, and he was there. I mean, how does he respond to you? Because you had quite a few run-ins with his administration.
Strange enough, I'm writing a book.
I'd love to see that.
No, I've only just gotten started. It's going to probably be, I shouldn't be telling you, but I'm putting some of these things together. Look, President Buhari and I, we go back, I'm not sure I can call him my friend because he's probably much too higher than that. But I think he also understands where I'm coming from. I didn't start yesterday. I have never attempted to insult or abuse anybody. And indeed, when I heard people saying that the presidency was very uncomfortable with me, I booked an appointment. I went to see the president, eyeball to eyeball, and I said, sir, this is what I hear. And he just laughed. I have met him in several places. President Buhari has not shown me the slightest sign. Maybe that is his demeanor, but he also, I think he understands that there's nothing I'm saying that is personal.
Yeah.
And there is no Nigerian president, as I said, everything I say cannot be correct. It's not possible. But I have not spoken out of malice. I'm just convinced, and I have paid the price. Let me say, I paid my dues. I think I have a bit of understanding about how countries are built. I also think I have paid enough attention, and I'm a student of Nigeria. I also think that I have moral obligations as a priest of the Catholic Church. Let me be clear about that. That we have all the ingredients, we have a bit of understanding. There's absolutely nothing is it the bureaucracy? Is it education? Is it diplomacy? The Catholic Church started it all. So we have a bit of material about and ideas about how do you build a good society. And for me, I will remain relentless. There's none of these actors that I don't know, but when it comes to these matters, we're not looking, it's not about a friendship club. It's about how do we fix our country. And I'm not saying it because I have all the answers, but clearly the nepotism that passed for governance, the price is what we are seeing. That is how much goodwill just hemorrhaged. Because you see, people talk about Lee Kuan Yew and they talk about Singapore. But if you see what Lee Kuan Yew did in Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew first of all took a decision. Because he knows that the public service is the conveyor belt of all the good intentions that a president may have. Now, you may be sitting here, perhaps the best anchor. But if these guys who are managing the cameras are not able to do their job, there's nothing that gets done. So he placed emphasis on the quality of men and women that got into the public service. You got a first class, you got the best result, you went to public service. All right? And by 1980 or thereabout, the public servants of Singapore were earning far more salaries than the people in public service. And they were the highest paid civil servants anywhere in the world. So when you now have a situation, and compared with the Nigerian situation, where people are getting jobs, it's almost like sitting in the palace, in a feudal palace, where you're getting jobs by whispers. And frankly, one of the things I like to say to this government, there has to be a forensic audit. There has to be a forensic audit. Let everybody show his certificate and let's see how and why. What is it that qualified you to become chief? What is it that qualified you to be where you are? Because if there's nothing magical in all of this. But if you do not have a threshold, if there are no finishing posts, then there is no need playing a game. So for me, those are really the issues. So if you talk about the President Buhari and any other, I think in fairness to them, they know that my heart is in the right place. Let me just give you an example. General Abdul Salam, the chairman of our National Peace Committee.
Yeah.
When I got this invitation to speak, first of all, I called him. I happened to be in London, so I went to see him. And I said, look, people have asked me to speak. And he looks at me and he says, and I said to him, I'm surprised they would be asking me to speak. And he says to me, you may make us unhappy, but we know you are honest. I shared the letter with Peter Obi. I said, because my friend, I said, look, this is what is happening. And Peter Obi says to me, I'm very delighted. Please go. Because I know what you are going to say. So there's nothing I'm saying that is personal. I know, and everybody knows that we ought not to be where we are, because this country we should not be stagnating. We should not be decaying.
You make a very good point, Bishop. And you mentioned the fact that you were planning to put together another book in the series, let me put it that way, because you've written a lot of books. And just looking at a scan of the reviews of your most recent book, Witness to Reconciliation, I see that the foreword is written by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby. That's a huge endorsement, but also the fact that everyone who participated in that reconciliation process, from the then Governor of Rivers State, Peter